Okay, now we are actually recording as well, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
Yep,
Oh, I see an ad.
yep, that's good
That's
news.
good news.
I'm just gonna quickly...
Oh, I'm all out.
Coffee? Is that...
No,
No?
ibuprofen. I'm like a
Oh,
druggie that needs its fix.
it's worse to be out of that.
Yeah.
Alright, come check it out at twitch.tv/summitpodcast. Then tag you fuckers. Alright, both.
That's what I am.
Yep, welcome. And welcome, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Summit Podcast. This is episode 3, the May 28th edition, 2016. We've got a largely discussion-based docket for you guys today, so there's not that much news, I guess, with E3 and Computex coming up. Not much has actually been announced, so this week was kind of boring as far as news goes. So if there are any news topics you guys are interested in us covering, let us know what they are, and I'll look them up. But other than that, we're going to be discussing some interesting topics for you guys today. Yeah, we are usually going to be talking about gaming news and everything to do with the industry, but today is a little different. So we're going to be talking about the industry and not really the news. So we're going to actually be starting off this week with a discussion on how important your rig is for gaming. But why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? Just for anyone who doesn't know. Start off with Yeti.
Okay, I am Yeti. What's up? I don't really. I'm tired. I'm not really with it today, but I want you to know that Twitter notification that went off on my phone then and scared the shit out of me. So that's what that was.
I was telling
It's
you
like-
as I was doing it, though.
I know, but I wasn't expecting my phone to vibrate, so it went off. I wasn't ready for it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi. What's up?
Go
That's
ahead,
it.
Josh. Your turn.
I don't know how I can. I don't think I can top that. But man, I am Josh. I am from PlaycrastiNation. I make videos over at youtube.com/PlaycrastiNation. I'm back after getting my wisdom teeth out. I have 12% less teeth in my mouth and like 1,200% more pain in my mouth. So I'm excited to be back. I'm running on basically ibuprofen. I feel like I'm in one of those like Aleve commercials where they're like, "But I'm the loser." Like some other guy has to take one Aleve, and I'm like, "I take 57 of these an hour." So that's where I'm at. I'm doing good. I'm excited to be back though.
Awesome. And I am Winter Bear, also known as Will. You can follow me at youtube.com/winterbeargames. And I have 1,200% less beard on my face this week. So, I'm cold. And I've had 4 hours of sleep. So, aren't we a sorry bunch? And we are your crew this morning for the Summit Podcast. Well, this morning / this afternoon / this evening, I suppose, depending on which one of us you talk to. So, why don't we get into our discussion topics for the day? So we're going to be talking about how important your rig is for gaming. Specifically, when we're talking about this, when I say your rig, I mean your computer. So, like, we're talking about how important it is to have, like, the most updated graphics card or the best CPUs or, just basically like a solid computer compared to, say, like, gaming on a laptop or, gaming on some, like, please don't, but gaming on your phone. Or versus like a console, or how important is what you play on as opposed to what you're playing. So start off the discussion with Yeti. What's your take?
Right. Okay. So where specifically am I talking? Like, okay, how important is like a good PC, or are we sort of comparing PCs to consoles?
No, not comparing, just saying how important is like the quality of components and like the actual ability to play the games at super high graphics, or But beyond that, do your take. If you want to compare it to consoles, go ahead.
Okay, well, I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference because, like, some people will be wanting sort of super high graphics on like 4K or whatever. I know that I personally am like super happy playing sort of 1080p. I don't even have to max it out if I feel like I'd be better running it sort of frame rate wise. I'm happy to play at lower graphic settings, but sort of component wise, I for the most part think that consoles a little bit, because obviously they've got to try and fit as much power into it as they can whilst also keeping the price down. And I think that in that sense, if you do want like nice graphics and all that crazy stuff, then you better off going with the higher end components in the PC. Because I know that when the next gen consoles came out, it was all about 60 FPS, and then quite quickly that was not a thing anymore. So, well, then it's like sometimes it is now, sometimes it isn't. So I think as far as it depends what you want. If you want all nice stuff, then I think it's worth getting a PC, making the investment and stuff. But I don't know. I sort of stand. I mean, I like PC gaming. I don't have any consoles, but I sort of stand on the side that you don't need to spend too much to be able to do PC gaming. My PC was like quite budget. It was like £500 to £600, and I'm super happy with it. Play games at frame rates and graphical settings I'm happy with. So I think for me the optimal ground is like PC gaming, but not too far. Sort of like that sort of middle ground I think is like the best area to sit in for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's very diplomatic. All right. Josh, why don't you let me know where you're at, and then we can discuss a little bit further.
Yeah, in terms of comparing PC gaming to console game, I used to be a pretty much strictly console gamer pretty much my entire like childhood growing up. I really, other than like computer games, that I had like a Command and Conquer game that we would plug into our old like 1997 computer and play at 2 frames a second. But other than that, really didn't do like any PC gaming. It wasn't until I decided to start this YouTube channel that I really started. I mean, I built my PC that summer before I started, and since then I have pretty much never looked back. I turned on my Xbox for the first time the other day in like probably 6 or 7 months, just because my friends wanted to do something on there, but I had completely forgotten like how to navigate the Xbox screen, or how to do I put a disc in. Like, I'd completely forgotten everything. So I've pretty much been converted to a PC gamer. But as far as specifics that go within the PC, honestly, if you ask me what components were in my PC right now, I couldn't tell you. I went to the store and I said, hey, here's my budget, make me a good PC, basically. And they're like, so I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I have to have the highest end graphics card. I have to, mostly from like pricing constraints, I can't drop $800 on, a crazy graphics card. But I honestly could not tell you what graphics card is in my PC. I couldn't tell you. I think it's nope, not even sort of clue. Couldn't tell you my motherboard. Couldn't tell you. So as far as components, I'm not, like a crazy tech junkie or anything like that. But I do think having, kind of like Yeti said, at least a decent computer that you can run, to differentiate from console gaming a bit. That's kind of what makes PC gaming a little superior in my mind, is the ability to have a little bit more power.
Interesting. Okay. So I take like a completely different stance than you guys, I think. Because like for one thing, I am a tech junkie. I love talking about the actual tech in a rig, and I like talking about what's going on with the latest graphics card. What's when is that releasing? When is all that stuff. I love that stuff. That being said, for gaming, I couldn't give two shits about what components you're running. If you're enjoying gaming, you're enjoying gaming. Whether that's unless you're on your phone, in which case you're not gaming.
But Fallout Shelter's so much fun.
Yeah. So, anyways, you're doing clickers, which I actually don't think are games anyways. But to each their own. That's just my opinion on it. But beyond that, like if you're playing on a console, if you're playing on like a handheld, like a DS, or I guess it's a 3DS now or whatever. Damn Nintendo, always changing things on me. Whatever you're playing on, if you're playing a game, you're gaming, and if that's the kind of gaming you enjoy, that's the kind of gaming you enjoy. I mean, like for me, I enjoy PC gaming. I do. I also happen to enjoy console gaming, but usually in the setting of I'm sitting on my couch with friends, kicking around. Like if I'm playing an online game, I'm like, why would we ever play on a console when the internet is so shoddy from my living room and I have to use Wi-Fi compared to a hardline connection? It's dumb. If you're here, absolutely we can play this Xbox game. If you're not here, no, fuck off. We're playing a PC game. It's like, for me, it's just about what works best and how much enjoyment I can get out of it, as opposed to like, I don't know, as opposed to just like, oh, is the hardware super important? I would love to have the new graphics card from Nvidia, or AMD is doing their event in Macau today. I don't think I said that right, but it's in China. And so like they're releasing their new graphics cards, and so we're going to find out if they're competitive and stuff like that. But it's not really news yet until we hear what's happened, so we can't really talk too much about that other than just speculating. But other than like if you want to enjoy VR, your rig is incredibly important. Like, you need to have a very, very good rig to run VR properly. That being said, you can run VR experiences on your phone. So there's always going to be varying degrees, and it depends what you want from that experience. If you want just an immersive experience, I think, okay, great. Then you can just pop your phone into that, Galaxy
Samsung headset or whatever.
The Samsung Galaxy VR or whatever. And you're going to be fine. If you want to be fully involved in a world, you're going to need a better computer than a phone can offer, right? And it's like, it's a different thing. But I don't know, what is your guys' take on like the necessity of different types of game to actually be considered a gamer within that respect then? Because I consider gaming to be like just whatever games you're playing other than mobile games. Sorry, I'm harping on that, but
dating simulators.
Oh, you know what? Half true. Some dating simulators are really fucking hilarious, and they fit into the same categories as visual novels, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But and that's a whole other debate whether or not visual novels are games. But we can talk about that if you want. But
I think we'll probably get into that later.
Yeah, we probably
get
will.
Into it. Yeah, we have a discussion topic later, so that's perfect.
True enough. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
and not to be starting anything, I think, in my opinion, you can stretch mobile gaming to be gaming in some cases. I've played PS1 games on my phone before, and Game Boy games. I know that's emulation, so it's slightly different, but
I would argue that that's not mobile gaming, though. I would argue that is console gaming just emulated onto your phone. And when I say mobile games, I'm talking about your Clash Royale. I'm talking about your your Fruit Ninja. Like, yeah, there's some level of game to it.
Yeah, I think your mentality going into a mobile game versus an actual game is a little bit different. Maybe it's just for me. Going into a mobile game,
you kind of showed your hand there when you said when you go into a mobile game versus going into an actual game.
Yeah, a little bit. When you go into like a Flappy Bird or something like that, or like a Unblock Me, I think it's called, which I used to play all the time. Yep. You're bored and you need a time waster. When I load up Fallout 4 or something like that, I'm not looking for a time waster. I'm looking to play a game and get an experience. You don't get much of an experience out of many mobile games. I know that there's probably some out there that you have to pay for that I'm too cheap to pay for that I'm sure are great. But yeah, I'm kind of on the same train that I don't really consider. I used to be like addicted to mobile games, Unblock Me and Candy Crush and all those fantastic games that used to come out. But after a while, you just realize it's just a time waster, and it's not a huge fan.
I know, like, the majority of people I know who have games on their phone use them while they're taking a shit. And that's their main purpose for having games on their phone.
Takes your mind off the smell. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and you know what? More power to them. I have no issues with that. But what's your guys' take on like things like Hearthstone being on mobile now? Like,
Is that the card game?
yep, that's Blizzard's card game. That it's a collectible trading card game without any trading of cards. So, yeah.
I don't know enough about it to. I've never like touched it.
Well,
So I can't compare online to mobile. But
right. I guess what I'm saying, like, I've played a fair bit of both. It's really slow on mobile, but it's playable, and it's like it's as far as it goes a game. Like it's basically just a PC game. Like it's not, but like, do you consider like card games like that to be PC games? I guess, because if that's the case, then there are PC games available on mobile.
Well, so where I stand with that one is Hearthstone. I don't know how much, but it's like massive, right? Because I remember I was considering getting it, and then it was so big. I was like, yeah, I don't know if it'll fit on my phone, because my phone doesn't have much memory on it anyway. But
Yeah.
and I sort of feel like if I wanted that, I'd have to go like out of my way to be clearing up space and making room for it, and that's just like one game. So I sort of feel like if you have to like go out of your way to fit it in, it's not really meant to be. I don't think.
Right.
But, it works.
I think like a lot of like newer phones have around like 64 gigs of memory, right? But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So on that, like, 4 gigs is kind of a drop in the bucket. But I have a 16 gig Nexus 5, right? And it's like, I don't have the space for this. But luckily for me, it's the only thing I have on my phone, really. So it's yeah. But it's still slow as shit. My phone is so much slower since putting Hearthstone on it. I don't know. But I think it's interesting because like we are getting to the point where, like, for the games that are in the modern market, right? Like, your rig is becoming less important. Like, unless you're talking about VR games, or unless you're talking about like the next Crisis that'll never happen, because Crisis 3 was, I think, the last one. But it's kind of like you don't really need more than 1080p. It's really nice to have if you like those if you like playing in 4K, and if you like playing in VR, then yeah, it's nice to have the really awesome rig. But like as we move forward, I think it's just easier and easier to play like pretty good looking games on pretty low end devices. So I actually would argue that it's much less important for your rig to actually be super good, and more important for you to be able to have access to the games, which on PC it can get pretty expensive, but on consoles it's even more expensive. So and then on mobile it's just what are you doing with your life? So yeah. SideQuest says he's played some mobile games that are just as good as arcade-style console games like Kingdom Rush. Hearthstone is one of those games that should have been a mobile game. So, what's your guys' take on that? Because that's actually an interesting point.
The Hearthstone one, or the played some arcade games that are just as good as arcade-style console games?
Take your pick. I mean, for me, like, the interesting point was the Hearthstone one, but I also agree, like, yeah, okay, there's definitely some mobile games out there that were designed to be arcade-style games. And when I say, like, mobile games aren't really gaming, I am talking about, like, not focused in mobile games. Like,
your clickers
Yeah.
or your microtransaction-based games.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to look on my phone. I literally don't have. I have chess. Does that count?
That's a game.
That's all I have on my phone.
I mean, it's a board game.
I've pretty much purged mobile games from my phone. But like you said, I'm sure there are mobile games out there that are just as they could not hold their own with like any console games, but like older games for sure. But as far as Hearthstone being on a mobile, I can definitely see mobile being a decent basis for a card game, just because of especially if it's something where you're going to be playing against other people, the accessibility of other people. Because I know, like, I used to play Words with friends all the time, on my phone or whatever, and just having a giant network of people that you could pick from to play with makes it a lot easier to find a match in no time flat, basically. So for that reason, I could see it being kind of good, but kind of like you said, taking up a lot of space, and I don't know if phones necessarily have that much the power necessary to hold it up.
Right. But they are getting more powerful, right? And so
Yeah.
it's something that in the future, I think, and when I say in the future, that sounds so vague and like, whimsical and whatever, but like, no, in like the next few years, I think it's going to be far less important to have a super strong computer to play games that are quite good and enjoyable, you know? I mean, consoles even now are doing actually a pretty good job. Like, PC Master Race for life and all that, but it's, consoles aren't bad for just being able to play games and enjoy playing games. If you want super good graphics and you want to, like, have a much more immersive experience, yeah, PC is the way to go, right? But I would argue that it's not very important. I would say your rig is not very important as far as gaming goes, if we're just talking about gaming as gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's fair.
Okay. So, why don't we hop into what we've been playing this week? So, Josh, why don't we start with you this time?
Yeah. Getting my wisdom teeth out, obviously I've had a lot of time to be playing games this week, which has been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I cheated a little bit, so the game I was teasing 2 weeks ago that I was going to introduce to replace Fallout was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which I initially tried to... Oh god, my neighbor literally just backed into my yard. That's great.
Like on your lawn? Or like...
Yeah, the grass. It's awesome. She's like trying to back out of her driveway, and she just went straight diagonal into the grass. But you know what? I'm not going to turn the camera on her. So that was the game I was initially... I tried to stream it on Twitch, but it didn't work. But I figured out how to get it to work recording, so I was going to do that. Being broken, I sat down and played through the entire game in 4 days, and it was amazing. I've never done Dark Side in that game before, so I was like, you know what? I'm in pain. I'm going to make some other people in pain. It's amazing. You can be such a dick in that game by going dark side. So it was an awesome experience. So that's what I played pretty much all week, every single day, until like 4 a.m. every day.
Nice. That's solid. So as far as like, okay. I really want a new Star Wars adventure game that's like actually canon, just for the story aspects of it. But
yeah.
With the option to go dark side versus light side, and like you can choose whether you go dark or light side in that game, and for those of you who aren't aware, it's got like probably one of the biggest twists in the Star Wars universe as far as the EU goes, and it's Legacy now, it's not the EU. So within Legacy, it's one of the biggest twists in the Star Wars universe, and it set precedent for a whole lot of things, and a lot of people think that The Force Awakens has taken some aspects of that twist and put them into their new character, Rey.
Yep.
But to not spoil anything, the game itself is very good and it's very well acclaimed. Honestly, I really hope that they just remake The Old Republic and release it as like one side of this game is canon and one side is not.
Yeah.
And you can like one side is just
because that's the thing when you
simulation as to what would happen if it weren't the case. Like it's a what if universe, and like I would love them to introduce the What If series into like the Star Wars comics first. Are you familiar with the What If series in like Marvel comics?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So the What If series in comic books is like what would happen if, like, say Superman was evil, or like that's not Marvel, so it's a bad example, but like what would happen if Spider-Man also had Deadpool's regenerative powers and things like that. I don't think that's one, but I would be interested in reading that. So Marvel, get on it.
That'd be a pretty awesome superhero.
Yes, I mean Spidey Pool is already a thing where Deadpool masquerades as Spider-Man and like takes his web slingers. So, I mean that's a thing, and I loved it. So but anyways, that's a whole different thing. But so essentially, the What If universe is just like a hypothetical, and I would love the Star Wars universe to introduce those things, but I think it would be probably very confusing. So I don't think it'll happen, and unfortunately, I think that means that the Old Republic won't be remade with modern graphics and like the full thing. But
yeah, which is a shame because that's one of the few downsides of that game is just it's so old that the graphics just weren't there at the time. But you're right, from a storyline perspective, it's probably, and not just restricted to Star Wars games, it's probably one of my favorite storylines in any game I've ever played. So yeah, and then 2 was such a... 2, I don't know why they released an incomplete game, so 2 was kind of a letdown. I mean, I still love the KOTOR game, so KOTOR 2 was still good, but the fact that so much of it was unpolished was kind of upsetting to me, so... If they ever go, I mean, they always hint. There's always rumors that they're going to be working on a 3 or that they're going to be working on a remake, but who knows if they're ever actually going to do it. But if you've never played the original ones as it is, go back and do that.
Definitely, it's worth checking out. Have you played these, Yeti?
No, I've not. I don't know. I've played some old Star Wars games, but it was like sort of when I was young enough to not remember them.
Right.
I don't think that's the sort of like RPG-ish one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's RPG. It's a turn-based, rather than like a Fallout style RPG. It's more of like a real-time action. It's a turn-based. Like all the attacks are based on rolls, and your dodges are based on rolls, stuff like that.
It's
well, whatever it was I played was like a third-person action platformer type thing, more that sort of thing.
Nah, it's not that.
different game.
Okay.
I think that is that Jedi Knight. Might be Jedi
Yes.
Knight.
Yeah,
Jedi
it sounds
I think it's
familiar.
Jedi Knight, yeah.
Okay.
I had that one too. That's a good one.
That's a good game. I really like that game. Yeah, so KOTOR is kind of more like Morrowind as far as RPGs go, where like your attacks and everything are based on dice rolls, and it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting way to play an RPG. I personally really enjoy those types of RPGs, but they kind of been faded out as far as the gaming world goes. Wouldn't mind them coming back. Just throwing that out there.
I like them. They take a lot more strategy rather than skill. A lot of the ones that were, like a lot of the newer RPGs, like you said, that are more of a live action type of thing, are a lot more like the Skyrims or is just a lot more skill than strategy. There's no like going into KOTOR, you're like, okay, what kind of similar to like something like Dark Souls, and you come in, you're like, which is all that's a good combination of both skill and strategy. You come into those games going, you know, what kind of build am I going to make? How many points am I going to put into Dex? How many am I going to put into Strength? How am I going to put into this? And like, you have to, coming into it, have a plan of what you're going to do. If you just put points through it willy-nilly and you make a jack of all trades kind of character, you're going to get destroyed. Yeah.
You will die.
Games like that are, which like me as a kid when that game first came out and I had it on my original Xbox, did not know any of those strategy elements, would put points in every, I was like, oh, just make them all equal. And I could never beat the game because by the end they're, even on like easy difficulty, if you do not make a good build, you will get destroyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I wish they would bring more games like that require a lot more thought going into your making your characters than now. Most games, the most time I put going into making my characters, making them look silly. So I wish they would bring back some of those elements.
I mean, making a character look silly is a ton of fun, though. So I mean,
oh yeah,
it's not
it's
something
almost
to
as important
turn
as
your
maxing
nose
out
up.
strength decks.
Yeah. Like whatever, but you know, just take the Northern Line approach, make them look like Homer Simpson, or you know, choose
and then make him he made a jack of all trades character, and now he can't get past the late game either, which is funny.
I've been watching it. Are you caught up on his Dark Souls series?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
It's such a slog.
Yeah, for anyone who isn't familiar, Northern Line is a YouTuber. He does a lot of content that I think all of us kind of have taken inspiration from to some degree. He's playing Dark Souls and he's an idiot.
It's weird because he's like the smartest idiot you've ever met, because he can drop these crazy, like, he's got like a brain that's just full of pop culture references, and he drops like the dankest memes I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
But yeah, he's playing like Dark Souls. He's just like, and there'll be like elements where it's like clearly there's like something on him or some mechanic that he's supposed to do to like avoid something, and he's just like, dude, probably nothing. We just won't. Like the boss fight against the Yorm the Giant, when he's like, ooh, an item in here. I wonder what this item is, and he picks it up, and it's a special weapon. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it with my regular sword. And then I was like, geez, for a smart person, you're dumb. But no, he makes some he's hilarious. So
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it's half Persona. Like, sorry, spoiler for anyone who's not in the YouTube world. Personas are a thing. People put on a bit of a show on YouTube. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like he plays the lovable idiot on YouTube, but actually knows exactly what's going on and like is fully prepared for everything, and is just like, well, I'm gonna have to record a big slog of Dark Souls today, otherwise people will think I'm too good. It's just a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's actually true. I think he is just dumb sometimes, but yeah. I like Dark Souls because it's hard though. Like, not because like it's excessively hard or anything. Like, I don't like Dark Souls 3 is not excessively hard, from what I can tell. You know,
I've heard they've eased up the games considerably.
This is what I've heard as well. I haven't played any of the other Souls games, so I don't know for sure. But I'm
about to start playing the first one on my channel, so I'm a little nervous. But I'm
playing that currently.
Yeah.
That's the new game I've decided is going to replace. That's actually why I booted up my Xbox the other day, because I remember I had it for free on there. They had like a free month for like games with gold or whatever. That was Dark Souls 1, and so I downloaded it. I totally forgot about it, but yeah, it's what I'm gonna be. That's gonna be replacing Fallout. So I'm not excited, because I remember when I was like 4 years ago when I first played that game, my friend let me borrow it, and I made it, I think, like the second boss, and just rage quit and gave him his game back and never played it again. So
nice.
Hopefully I can get past the second boss on this playthrough.
I'm excited to see it on your channel. I want to see you rage.
Not.
This is gonna be fun. I'm excited.
I will.
Yeti, you said you were playing Dark Souls, right? So
yeah,
you're playing Dark Souls 1 and you're going through the series from 1 all the way up to 3, right?
That is the plan currently, yeah.
Are you going to be playing like Demon Souls and the other Souls games as well, or are you just playing like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3?
No, it'll just be because I don't have a console to play Demon Souls on, or Bloodborne or anything like that. So it's gonna have to be sort of like the 3. But there's still quite a lot of Soulsage going on. I'm alright with that.
Yes.
And there's always Slashy Souls as well on mobile.
Oh, nice. All right, yeah, that's a lot of Souls though. You guys are in for a slog. Where I have taken Dark Souls 3 off my channel just because it's not getting the views. You know, there's a bit of Dark Souls fatigue going on as far as Dark Souls 3 goes, but I think people are probably chomping at the bit a little bit for Dark Souls 1 and 2. Well, not so much 2. People didn't really like 2 that much, but I think people are probably looking for some classic Souls content. So
no, I'm nervous. It's a good time, but I'm just it's exciting because I get to practice my editing, because there's going to be a lot of deaths. I'm going to be making a lot of death montages, which is going to be just great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the Dark Souls community is
ruthless.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a nice way to put it, but that is, if you don't understand their game, they will destroy you.
Yes.
So I'm going to get destroyed, which is just I'm going to get destroyed on 2 fronts, 1 in game and 2 out of game. So I'm excited for both.
Mm-hmm. That's totally fair. So, yeah, you've been asked in chat, I think, how far are you in Salt? Which I'm assuming is Salt Sanctuary.
Yeah. I have, first of all, I've not been replying to comments for a few days, which is my bad, so sorry about that. But, yeah, I'm actually, like, quite a bit ahead of where I'm up to on the series, because I started playing it, and then I just kept playing it. But, I don't remember, actually. I've just killed the alchemist chap, and then headed on to whatever the boss is after that. I think it's like a big wolf or something with like an axe for an arm, something like that. So that's where I am. It's like 4 hours in, I think. Yeah.
How are you liking
Couldn't
it?
tell you his name though. I really enjoy it. One thing I've noticed though, now that I'm playing Dark Souls as well, it is very, very similar. Like it is a 2D Dark Souls, and that's pretty much like even down to some smaller mechanics, like the blessed page, which is like that electricy stuff you can put on your sword in Dark Souls, whatever that's called. And then that's it. Yeah. And then it's just every little, like if it was made by the same people, I'd believe it. It's like sort of, but it's really good though. I like it. It's I don't know. It's just a good game. I enjoy it. I'm happy playing Dark Souls and Salt and Sanctuary like beside each other. So
I mean, I think Salt and Sanctuary just wears its inspiration on its sleeve. Like I don't think it's trying to hide that it's a 2D Souls like,
Yeah,
but,
right.
It looks good. Like as I said when we talked about it, when you were talking about putting it on your channel, it looks really good. Like it looks like a really like well put together game, and it looks like a ton of fun. It also looks like it's frustrating as shit. Have you found that yet?
Yeah, there was getting the hang of it for sure was painful. There was a bit like pretty early game where I spent an entire episode on one set of enemies. But I don't know, once you get the hang of it, it's like there are some secrets, like I mentioned before, the Blessed Page, which is like a power boost to your weapon. I didn't know about that until I saw someone else use it. So if you know like little tricks and stuff, and once you're used to the combat, it's still challenging, but it's a lot more fun once you get into it. But definitely the first, like learning the ropes and stuff was a bit of a nightmare, but it paid off. I'm glad I stuck with it.
Good. Awesome. Have you been playing anything else this week?
I opened up Rocket League last night.
Nice.
The first time in a while.
I'll tell you, I don't know. I took a little break from Rocket League. I came back. The community is a lot more also brutal now. I don't know if it's just me, but I've been playing a lot of games recently where people are just, and it's funny because they'll get mad at you for, there was one game where I played like 2 games in a row. We did like a rematch, so I played 3 games in a row with the same guy, and the first one I scored like 6 goals and we won, and then the next one we lost, and then the third one he's like, hey, we're losing because of you, and I'm like, I've scored like 6 goals and you had 0, but it's getting brutal, is what I'm saying. People are stepping up their game in Rocket League.
Yeah.
I love that game.
I was playing actually some Rocket League last night as well, and I played probably 3 or 4 games. This is while I'm waiting for a video to process, and my computer's like chunking along during this. So like, I'm having like, it feels like it's lagging, but it's not lagging. It's just my CPU is having trouble processing it. So I'm just like, all right. But like, I ended up playing probably 2 or 3 games, and I think we won 2 of them. And I scored, I think, around 4 or 5 goals in each game. And then in the third game, just fucking got wrecked. And it happens, right? But, like, it was just, like, it was frustrating because it felt like no matter what I did, I couldn't get the ball out of our end because their team was just, like, playing super well. And my team was not playing very well, and it's like, I was trying to be polite, and I just wasn't being a dick, but the other team was being huge assholes.
Oh, that's my least favorite.
It's like, okay, you're winning, shut the fuck up. Like, you're playing really well, and I'll give you that, you're playing really well, but you don't need to be an ass.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I've had that too. It's nice when you can find the lobbies that aren't full of cancer. When you can avoid those, it's good. I love that game. But then when you get the ones like that, basically I prefer playing with people that play on PS4 because odds are they're not going to go into the chat and type out a big mess. So exactly. If you don't have a keyboard, you're probably not going to be a jerk bag. I've seen people on the PS4 do it though. Like, we've angered them so much that they've gotten on their freaking PS4 chat, and you can tell because they sit still for about 6 minutes and they're just typing. And I'm like, all right, That was important to get out.
So good. So, what was your experience last night, Yeti? We kind of hijacked that. Oh. Are you frozen,
Yeti
Yeti?
is. Yeti is frozen. He looks so high.
This is the best face that you possibly could have frozen on. I'm so pleased. Oh.
He's just smirking like, yeah, I was that Rocket League PS4 player you were playing against. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's gone.
And
Well, this is a good time to say hello to Black and Blue Pain, who is in the chat, and talk to
hello.
SideQuest, who says, have any of us bought the DLCs? I feel like Psyonix does DLC. It's probably the best I've seen in a while. I haven't bought any of them, but I have friends who own all of the DLCs, and they do a pretty good job.
This is... You should look at the stream right now. This is great as to where your face is.
Yo, I got split in half.
You did.
What's going on?
Let me just spread a little
This
bit
is-
here. Stretching out. All
This is
right.
good. No, this is good.
No, this is... I need to change this. This is awful.
I need to space myself out perfectly so that
Okay.
one eye is on each side of your head, and then I can like do the cross-eyed thing. Oh, he's back.
Okay, well,
My
good
head
timing,
is
Yeti. I just put your icon up instead of your face, but
Right. Am I here?
you're here
I'm
now.
so confused.
Welcome
Right.
back.
Right as I did the cross-eyed thing,
Yeah,
it put me back to my own screen, so now I just look like a derpy idiot.
it was great though. I appreciate it. And you looked high as shit when you like froze, Yeti. By the way, like you just looked like
It was
you had had the
amazing.
best hit on something.
Yo, who's ice cream in there?
Dude, that's me.
Okay,
I'm
we
right
are
in front of
hearing
the
it off
house.
your desktop microphone now. I'm pretty sure.
You are or aren't?
Oh, now it doesn't seem like it at all. But when the ice cream truck was
Okay.
going by, it seemed very much like your desktop microphone.
Yeti
Right.
High. That is a great name. Instead of
It
Yeti
should
Hype,
be.
you are now Yeti
No,
High.
no.
We shouldn't start that.
We
It's
should
too
take
good.
take the screenshot of him and then put like the 420 Blaze It YOLO swag
We should.
hashtag airhorn.wav all
Yeah.
over the picture.
That is good. I like that. But sorry. Anyways, I was asking before you disappeared, Yeti. What's your experience been with Rocket League lately? We kind of hijacked that.
With Rocket League.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I played sort of like an hour last night, and not really much beyond that. So I guess it's not really a big enough sample size to talk about the community on the whole as much. But I mean, the people I was playing with for the hour were nice enough.
What-
But I don't know. It's go on.
What server are you playing on? Because they have like the US West, US East, and then they
Yeah.
have the EU servers. Are you on the EU servers, or do they have
Yes.
EU West versus EU East, or is it just EU West,
Um,
or just EU in general?
From what I could tell, I think it was just EU.
Okay,
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah, I
the-
play on the US one, so apparently it's just US people that are a-holes. So.
it's possible. I play on US West and US East. I don't play with EU because their servers were having trouble connecting over there. But maybe the EU community is just fantastic. Maybe
Yeah.
we need to move.
I don't know. Siege would beg to differ, but
is it
as far as
bad?
Rocket League goes, it got really bad really fast. Like
Oh,
I
that
remember,
sucks.
sort of before I went on holiday, I remember always being like, oh, you know, it's great. I love the community and all that. There's no assholes. And since I come back, there's like for every session, there's guaranteed at least one group of assholes that'll start fighting with each other over just pointless bullshit. But
Well, that's your problem. See, you said it online that there are no assholes in Siege, and so they
internet,
heard
yeah.
you. It's like when you say Bloody Mary.
Oh, really?
She knows that you're saying Bloody Mary, and she's coming for you. So I'll be dead next podcast. But also, that's why the assholes came to Siege, because you said it. And so they were like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
that's my
hey,
bad.
whoa, guys, we're not represented. We have to show up at Siege. This is important."
There is a wasp that wants in my room so bad. He's like outside on the window, like trying to get in.
Are you sure he's
You're
not,
not getting it,
just
buddy.
like very interested in your window? Like,
He could also be like suicidal, and he's like, "End it. I'm done with this Wasp life.
be.
I don't know though.
Wasp
find out.
Life. That would be a great game.
That's the new sequel to Half-Life. It's pretty good. It'd be a good Half-Life mod.
I'd be into it. Playing as a wasp.
Play as a
It's the
wasp,
same game. You just hear like a slight buzzing behind you the entire game. Hey, I'm into it.
Here's my question. We've been talking about this. We've talking about we've been like teetering on rage games and things like that. What is have you guys ever played a game? What is it that you guys have raged the most at? Like, is there a specific game that you guys have just, for whatever reason, unholy raged at?
Yep. There are lots.
Tell me the worst, because I have one on my brain.
So Super Smash Bros. On
Oh,
the Nintendo
yeah.
GameCube.
Yeah.
Melee in particular. My brother is way too good at that game. is the problem. He's my younger brother, right? He's 3 years younger than me, and so like he just turned 21 last year, and he's coming up on 22. But when we were younger, we had the GameCube back when he was like 7, I guess. I don't know how, but anyways, regardless, he would kick my ass in Smash Bros, and I would get pissed off, and at one point I just threw the controller, and it didn't go through the TV or anything like that, but it, like, because GameCube controllers, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they're not wireless, they are wired.
No.
So
yeah.
Instead of pulling the wire out of the GameCube, I threw it towards the GameCube, but like over it. So, like, instead of, like, you know, the wire just pulling out, it pulled the whole GameCube
with it
up into the air, and just the GameCube went right into our TV stand.
Oh my
just,
god!
like, smashed through our Blu-ray player. I was a DVD player at the time, but, like, yeah, it just smashed right through it and, like, broke our DVD player.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so that was
That's hilarious.
That was probably one of my biggest rage moments. And then also whatever the James Bond game was on GameCube as well.
Which I had From Russia with Love, and I had
it's not GoldenEye, right? But it's like
something gold, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
It?
Oh, there's also.
I think I know the one you're talking.
Yeah, but like, anyways, one of those really pissed me off. It had a snow level with like a lodge and things like that, and it was awesome. But also, my brother was way too good at that.
I remember. I know the game you're talking about. You gotta like break in the window, and then you gotta make it through the compound. Yeah, I played that game. That game's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. That one's a donkey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means, but it's not good.
Yeah, but like since then, I have raged many a time. You guys, like, if you've watched any of my Dark Souls, you will have seen me like very, very carefully calm myself down from the rage. But oh god, I don't know. I think probably the worst rage experience I had was actually recently, and oh god damn, I was I was playing Darkest Dungeon, and like, if you guys are familiar with Darkest Dungeon, it's a punishing game. It's like it is a very, very punishing game, and I lost 2 members of my team who were like fully decked out in really good like relics, and they had like I had them really leveled up. I had just put a ton of money into like curing their diseases and shit. And then they died immediately. And I just had a moment where I was like, no, fuck you, game. It's not happening. And then I stopped playing Darkest Dungeon. So, yeah. Yeah. That was like my most recent rage moment. I actually like almost threw my monitor, and I'm like, no, that's an expensive piece of equipment. I'm not. Controller on a GameCube, $30 to replace. DVD player around $60 to replace, and then monitor around like $300 or $400 to replace. Yeah, no.
Phasm says, "Oh, that's why the series ended."
Hey, that's my girlfriend.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, she's hi Monica, how are you? I hope you slept well. Also, no, that's not why the series ended. That was in my own time. But yeah, I was playing to get better at Darkest Dungeon. I was playing in my own time and raged, and then yeah, you're awake. Congratulations. I'm glad you made it before you had to leave for work. Anyways, yeah, Yeti, what about you? What's your biggest rage game?
I tend to not really rage per se. I tend to just sort of complain. Like I've noticed a lot with Salt and Sanctuary recently. Like I'll be going against a boss and then I'll roll like into an attack instead of past it, and I'll sort of be like, oh, fucking controller's broken, delay on the control. Like I always blame. It's never my fault. I just blame it. But I think sort of the one game which sort of gets to me a bit is Dishonored, just because it's like, I don't know, it's a bit like, because I'm playing it now and I'm at a point where going through speedrunning it, sort of, if I make a mistake that's like I get stuck on something for 2 seconds, that's it. It's like I'm out then. So it's the fact that I can be grind, and sometimes like you can just lose a run over nothing. So I could be ahead in a run and then a guard can hit me and then I die instantly just because that's a glitch that happens in the game, or just because it's things like I've been playing the game so long now, and sometimes I just make mistakes that I shouldn't be mistaking, and making mistake I shouldn't be making those mistakes.
That is the perfect new word.
And it just, I think that's the one game. The amount of time I've spent with it now, it's so easy for me to just drive me insane. But I usually don't rage. Usually I just close it and I tend to go to bed for the most part if that happens. But that's probably my thing, is Dishonored. I had a similar wire pulling experience with when I was a kid, but sort of inversely, in that I was at a friend's house and I was like really stuck on a Lego Star Wars mission for a while, and then he showed me how to do it and I did it, and I jumped up and pulled the controller, and thus came with it the PS2 off the shelf, and that was fun.
I've had a similar experience to that as well. I was playing on an Xbox, like an original Xbox, and my friend jumped up and did a similar excited motion, but was still holding the controller, and the Xbox flew off and managed to hit me in the face, and that was one of like the 8 times that I've had a broken nose. So, yeah, it
now
it
we have
happens.
to hear all the other times.
Well, off stream.
We'll say that for
off stream. Yeah.
But yeah, mine is probably my worst rage moment ever. Was back in like, I can't remember if it was like 8th grade or like freshman year in high school, but it was my like Call of Duty raging phase, but it wasn't Call of Duty. I went to my friend's house, and at like 3 a.m, he was like, hey, I have this new game called Chivalry. It's like Call of Duty, but medieval, and it's really hard, so go play it.
It is not like Call of Duty. Can we?
No.
Sorry, can we just address that before you continue? It is not at all like Call of Duty.
The only thing similar is that it's like kills versus deaths. Like that's the only similar.
It's a first-person game. That is what's similar to Call of Duty.
And so, I think they're like similarities was like it's people in a lobby and you kill each other. Like that's the basic premise. But
it's a death.
So I was like,
fair.
oh, I'm pretty good at Call of Duty, and I was like, this is the time when I like was super into like gotta have more kills and deaths, gotta prove myself, And I played that game, and I played like 10 matches in a row, and each one, I think in all 10 combined, I think I had maybe 3 kills total throughout all 10, and I had like 27 deaths each round, and I like almost broke my friend's PC because I was so mad at that game. That's probably the worst I've ever raged any game. It is, if you've never played it, it is so hard, and then, until you like learn the mechanics, because you're playing as a new player. It's kind of like playing Rocket League against people that are really good. It's like it's punishing. You have no chance because they know so much more about how the mechanics work than you do.
Yeah.
More recently, Isaac has been brutal to me. It's like on my channel specifically, I've been doing random streaks, and I seem to get. You've seen? Oh,
I've seen some.
I seem to get Maggie every. I'm doing random, and there's like 13 characters to choose from, and somehow I've gotten Maggie 4 out of 5 times in a row.
Well, do you remember? Like, have you watched Northern Lions Rebirth series?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you remember when he was doing his random streaks and he got Blue Baby like 8 games in a row? Yeah. Yeah. It's bullshit.
My favorite was his double keeper when he had 2 keeper. He like randomed the keeper, and he actually won. And he was like, I was gonna call it a day after that last keeper run, but I think I'm gonna do one more just to kind of unwind. Random keeper, and it's like, oh my god. So No, that's how I've been feeling because I hate Maggie. Maggie's my least favorite character.
Yeah.
And like every single time, it's just like HP upgrades from the boss, no damage, no tears, tears down pills, and like after like 4 or 5 in a row, because like doing those, the runs end up being like 55 minutes every single time, and I hate uploading 55-minute videos because they take so long to watch, and there's no like. In the end, it's like, ooh, I won, and I still have no damage, but like, it's not fun to watch. So recently, I've switched back to doing because I lost recently on my most recent episode. So now I switched back to doing some Isaac streaks.
Spoiler
and
alert, though.
Oh, it's already up on YouTube, so
yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I've switched it back to doing Isaac, and now it's like 30-minute run, 35-minute run. And I'm like, life is good again. I have the D6. I get damage. It's a good time.
Yeah, Isaac
games.
I still play in my own time with Isaac. I actually like I don't have it on the channel right now. I've moved a lot of Let's Plays off the channel because I'm just like I'm focusing more on scripted content, right? But like I'm still playing these games. Isaac is one where like I play Eden mostly because I'm like I like the randomness of it. I like the fact that you start off with items as well because sometimes it just screws you super hard, and I love that. SideQuest says he listens to our scum lord and savior while he plays, which is completely reasonable. Though I find when I listen to NL when I play, I get confused as to where the sounds are coming from, whether they're from his game or my game. And
you hear like the laugh of the hands, and you're like, "Oh God, this isn't even a room where hands can spawn."
Yeah, I get so freaked out sometimes, and it's like. I had to stop. So I started watching Collider Movie Talk instead while I play. So it's like they're talking about movies that has nothing to do with Isaac. I can play Isaac.
That happened with me last night in Dark Souls. I was sort of walking down a corridor and was like, oh, there's nothing here. What's going on here? And I was watching him play Dark Souls as well. And then he got hit, and I shit myself. And I was like, there's nothing here at all.
Yep.
I hope you mean literally.
Literally.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Dark Souls life, though. I mean, shitting yourself is just par for the course. I mean, there's really no reason not to when you're terrified in that game. I was playing some Tomb Raider the other day. Doing recordings for the session. I don't have anything playing in the background, but there's construction going on outside my apartment building. So like right now it's not because it's Saturday, but like on weekdays it's like super loud, and I usually have my door shut, but I had forgot to shut my door before I did this recording, and they dropped this big like piece of, I guess it's like a wood like standing platform or whatever, and I'm playing Tomb Raider and I'm just like, what the fuck was that? I'm freaking out and I'm trying to figure out in game what that was, and I'm like looking around and I'm like, oh, it was outside. Right, there's a real world and it's just as terrifying. Great. I don't know. I like playing games with other things going on, but at the same time, like, sometimes it scares the shit out of me. So I guess we should actually probably like move on from what we've been playing this week because we've been talking about it for like half an hour, I guess. But okay. We should. Do we want to talk about news or do we want to just get into discussions? Like we could cover news at the end if you guys want, or we could cover the news right now and then we could go into discussions after that if you want.
We could. I mean, we don't have that much news, so we can just incorporate it into our discussion section, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first news thing we probably should cover as a thing, but
yeah.
Well, why don't I do that and just link it here into the feed?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
We'll
don't.
talk about that, and then
Twitter.
we'll keep the second one for the upcoming games we're excited for, because we can talk about that for a while.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. Okay, so I just posted it in the feed. No Man's Sky, which is a game that you guys are probably aware I am super hyped for, has officially been delayed until August, at least on PlayStation. Currently on Steam, I believe. I'm actually just going to double check. It still says available June 1st on Steam. So as far as I know, we are getting it on PC before the PlayStation users, but just if you were planning on getting it for PlayStation, it has been delayed until August. Basically, it's a big game, and they're trying to make it as optimized as possible. At least that's what the news reports are. It's not really a huge news story. It's just something that's worth noting. But do you guys have any comments on that? Do you care at all? I mean, I don't.
It's unfortunate. I'm in the same boat. I'm really looking forward to that game. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I want to be one of the, first people to get it, so that you can get your name on a planet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I feel like that's one of those games that's a great incentive. They did a really good job to get people to buy early, because every time someone comes to planet whatever, it's going to say discovered by PlaycrastiNation, and that's awesome.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going to buy that first day. I don't know if they have pre-orders or anything. I will
do.
probably pre-order. So
Yeah,
they do. So I will probably
I-
and play. It's going to be, I imagine it's going to be buggy as heck initially, but it's something they will fix over time.
They've had a fair amount of testing done, apparently. So apparently it's pretty good. I know that there is a little bit of early access testing just in a single player type environment, but as far as servers go, we'll see. But yeah, I've been following like their dev blogs and things like that, and it looks pretty stable right now. And considering it's about a month away, that's pretty damn impressive. We'll see though.
Yeah.
It might change in the next month. They may say, okay, PC, it's also being pushed back to August. If that's the case, I'll be disappointed, but it gives me more time to get money together to buy it, so it's fine by me. I'd still prefer it come out June 21st, and I'll just stretch my budget and figure it out. But it's it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if it was delayed until August, because if they do delay it, it's because they're trying to make it better and more stable. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty well. Like, there's not too much to say about it. It was just worth mentioning. Okay, so why don't we hop into our next discussion topic, which is gaming on a laptop. This kind of let's just leave it at gaming on a laptop for the topic. The big question here is it going to be better with the next hardware generation? I think this kind of goes back to our earlier discussion, so we don't really need to delve into this too much, but just notice that HP released a laptop that they claim is VR ready, which is awesome if it's true. I mean, hardware is getting better all the time, so laptops are becoming more viable as a gaming option. And that's really good news for people who are traveling and want to be able to play games, and it's really good news for people who are, say, going to school and have a bunch of spare time on their campus and want to play games but can't necessarily get home in the meantime and things like that. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. I think, like, just to throw my own standpoint in on this right away, gaming on a laptop is an experience that I've never enjoyed. Just largely based on screen size, honestly, and then also because they heat up like crazy. I had a gaming laptop for a while. It was an Alienware. I got a really good deal on it, and I'm embarrassed that I've owned an Alienware, but at the same time, I got it for like dirt cheap, so it's kind of like whatever. And it was a decent gaming experience as far as the hardware went, because I could just play games at 1080p like on medium settings, and it was fine. It was an acceptable gaming experience, but the heat output was awful. The size of the screen was terrible. Playing on that particular keyboard was absolutely horrendous for me to actually find where my hands were on the keyboard. Setting up a Wi-Fi connection was a nightmare because their proprietary wireless hardware was terrible. And being able to connect a controller, yeah, good fucking luck. And also it had like 3 USB ports. So if you did want to connect like hard-wired controllers, yeah, you can only connect 3 at most, and that's kind of shitty. Even if you then hook it up to a TV as well, you can only have 3 people playing whatever you're playing. So, like, I'm not nuts about gaming on laptops, but, you know, they're always making improvements. I don't think it matters what hardware you put in there. I think gaming on a laptop is a terrible experience, and I don't think I'll ever enjoy it. But that may just be my own personal bias. So I want to get your guys' take on it. Where do you guys stand? Have you ever gamed on a laptop? Will you ever game on a laptop?
I haven't done much. Pretty much the only games I ever played on my laptop were Dota, because I've never had like an Alienware or anything like that. I just had a Lenovo cheap $400, $500 laptop that I got for school, basically. So I couldn't run pretty much anything on it. Dota was pretty much the only thing, and even then it was not crisp Dota. It was low graphics, slow, laggy Dota. So I've never really gamed on a laptop. Same issues though, like you said, it just gets too hot and it's too confined to enjoy for me. So with better technology, I could see it being improving a little bit, but I still don't think it's something I'm gonna be interested in.
Fair enough.
I started on a laptop actually, because when I wanted to move from a console to a PC, it was easier for me to just get like an okay-ish laptop than have to buy like a new monitor and keyboard and mouse and all that, and build a decent PC as well. And for when I was starting, it was all right, but I found it hard once I moved onto like an actual PC with a monitor and stuff. I found it hard going back, because it's so, like as you said, with the whole thing of like struggling to figure out where your hands are. Like the keyboard's obviously a lot smaller and stuff, and it doesn't feel comfortable playing like that when I'm used to being like playing a certain way. It doesn't really gel with me. But and then the heat thing as well is a big thing. I think coming to the whole thing of this new generation of technology, I don't remember what the word was. Generation. Okay, but I think that's the thing that's going to be fixed heat wise, because I remember. I mean, well, it's like a week ago now we were talking about it, so the memory's basically gone. But I seem to recall they're like not as hot now or something like that. The 1080s and the 1070s. So if they can transfer that into a mobile graphics card somehow, that'd be good. But I don't think it'll ever be comfortable though. For me.
Yeah, I mean, I've played on a laptop with like a separate keyboard and mouse, and that's a little bit better of an experience. But at the same time, like at that point, like I also want to hook it up to a monitor, and I'm just kind of like, why am I playing on a laptop? This is not a mobile experience. This is I'm sitting at a desk and I have my laptop hooked up as a computer, So like I think to make the experience comfortable for me, I have to make it a desktop experience, which is not ideal if you're having a laptop. Like I guess it's nice to have the option to to play games on like a mobile gaming device, but at that point I'm just kind of like, would I not be better suited getting like PS Vita and just buying Isaac on that, and then just playing Isaac when I want to play games when I'm out and about, Or like, am I not better off just playing Hearthstone on my phone, which also runs very hot when playing Hearthstone, mind you, but like, as technology improves, might be better. But like, I think with laptops, like the way that they're going, with the 1080 and the 1070 in particular, just being released, the mobile versions of those chips should run cooler, because Pascal is a cooler architecture, and I don't mean like I mean like it's cooler in the sense that it runs at a lower temperature, and so it should be a better experience. But the problem is the CPUs have not caught up. Like yes, Haswell, which is Intel's latest architecture, or is it Skylake? Might be Skylake now.
Yes, Skylake now.
Skylake now. Regardless, Skylake is a cooler architecture as well. Again, not a more lower temperature, and so like it should be an overall better experience. But in my experience, laptop builders, no matter what the company is, they put their hardware in such a way that heat is not dispersed properly. And I don't know if that's because of an engineering flaw or if it's because it's an engineering impossibility to make it cooler. So I don't know. I'm excited to see, because if it is a good experience, I actually may consider trying it out. I don't think I want to be. I don't think I ever really want to be playing games seriously on a laptop though. Because again, screen size is just awful. And even at 17 inches, it's like, no thanks. I don't know.
No, I agree.
Okay. I mean, that discussion topic was short. Let's get into, is VR going to be accessible in the next 5 years? And by accessible, I mean available to the general mass public. I don't mean, like, is it going to be, like, a bit cheaper, because yes, it will be a bit cheaper. Like, I mean, there's no discussion there. But like, do you think that the general public will have access to VR within the next 5 years, or do you think it'll take longer? I don't know if I spelled accessibility right, but I don't really care. I mean, let's start with you, Josh. Hop in.
I do think it will. I think I read something the other day about Microsoft planning for their next Xbox console. They have the 360, the One, and I believe I don't know if they're making a whole new console particularly, or if it's just a new updated version of the One. They are expecting it to be VR capable, as well as have some VR games along with it. So kind of like when Kinect first came out. They took the Xbox 360 and then they started making new ones that were Kinect accessible, and then added Kinect games with it. So they're planning on doing something kind of similar with the VR. Planned release date, they said, was like late 2017. I think that's a bit generous. I don't think it's 1 year away. I think within 5 years they'll have it done. And I think once a console does it, I think you could probably say it's readily accessible, as long as it's not, like you said, like thousands of dollars. But just the fact that it is making its way into console gaming makes me think it probably will be readily accessible.
Okay, well, I think that's fair. I think we should talk about, before we get into this too much, I guess, what is the benchmark that we're going with as far as accessibility, right? And you're saying it's when a console does it properly. Let's be clear about that. Doing it properly, it's not.
Yeah.
I would posit that it might already be readily accessible, and that would be through Gear VR. Samsung has already made it widely available. And if we're talking about not VR gaming, but rather just VR, it could already be fully accessible, depending on what benchmark you set for it. So if we're talking about VR gaming, if you guys want to just talk about VR gaming, we can just talk about VR gaming, and then it's a whole different story. But I think VR in general is kind of already readily accessible to the public, should they decide to pursue buying a Samsung phone, which I personally don't want to do, but whatever. What about you, Yeti? Where are you at with this? Where would you say the benchmark is for when it's accessible?
I am a little all over the place. I don't think that phones. I think, okay, the Gear VR, you're right on that one, that it is. I think I agree that is readily available, the Gear VR, but I sort of don't feel like that. To me is like a completely different thing to say the Oculus or the Vive, because I think there's a difference between sort of sticking a phone on your face to sort of actually having it hooked up to a machine and using it to do what it's actually capable of, I guess. So I think it depends on where you draw the line at what with VR actually is. But I think in 5 years, yeah, it'll be especially as Josh mentioned before with the whole Xbox VR thing. That's probably what I'm looking out for. But I think as it stands, I don't agree that they are now. but I do think that it's coming along quickly, and it will be, especially because they know that the demand is there. There's already a lot of people going after them, and they're like, what, $600? I think the Oculus is, something like that. So I don't see any reason for them to not work on it.
It's like a grand Canadian. So I
Yeah,
have no
I think
idea.
I think yeah, I think it's 800 American,
800, okay.
if I remember right.
I think the HTC Vive is like, what? It's the HTC Vive is like 900 American, and it's like 1,400 Canadian or something dumb like that. But like,
HTC or Oculus Rift 600, HTC Vive's 800.
there you go. But yeah, it's like the Vive is like 12 to 1,400 in Canadian dollars. So I'm like, no thanks. It's like I can build an entire computer for like that could run VR games at that cost, but then I'd also have to pay $1,200 to $1,400 to buy the equipment to run VR. That's not accessible, right? It's
Yeah.
great. It's great for the early adopters who want to do that stuff. But yeah, okay. So if we're talking about gaming, then yeah, Gear VR doesn't count, and we should talk about it in the sense of when a console does it. I think that's fair, because I think the PC side has always kind of been like, we started off, and then it's pretty expensive when we started off, and then the console side picks it up and makes it cheaper and more accessible to people. But I don't think, like, okay, if we're talking about Microsoft putting it in to their new console, whatever that is, in 2017, and it better be a damn new console. It better not be just a refresh of the Xbox One, or it won't run VR.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the Xbox One is like a terrible console. Sorry to anyone who has it. I'm sorry that you spent your money on that expecting something better from Microsoft, because they should have done something better. But in all honesty, like it better be a new console that is actually VR capable. They better not half-ass it, because if they do half-ass it, it won't be coming to mainstream for a very long time. So I think actually paying attention to whether or not they rush it out in 2017, or whether they hold off a little bit longer, may actually determine whether VR continues to be accessible. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I nuts? Or
No, I think you're right. When I bought the Xbox One because I've pretty much been an Xbox. I had a PS2. That was all I've ever had for PlayStation, but I've had the original Xbox 360, and then I was like, I'll just continue with Xbox One. Honestly prefer the Xbox 360 as a console. Obviously, the Xbox One has a lot more graphical and processing power and more memory, which is a plus, but that's about all it had. That's about all it improved on, and those are the basic improvements you would imagine a new console would have. It didn't really do anything new and exciting.
right.
So I can agree with you there. So yeah, that makes me a little bit nervous about them trying to do VR, like you said, unless they really put a lot of effort into it and making it work. It's not going to be something that's going to be successful.
Right.
Yeah, but did you see the Minecraft demo though at E3? You can look in houses.
You could do
That was
what?
random for me. Wait, what happened to that? What happened? The HoloLens.
It's
I've not heard much about that.
It's still a project. They're still working
Right.
on it. I think like a big part of it right now is that they're kind of compiling all of their technology on VR, and they're trying to build like a full like a full featured set of technology, rather than just having the HoloLens, which is for particular applications, and then their Xbox VR, whatever that's going to be called, which is for other applications. They're trying to have it be more of an all-inclusive thing, and they were also like I don't know, the way that they were talking about HoloLens was that it was going to spread into other applications, and that was my assumption when they were talking about it, creating VR for Xbox. I thought it was going to be a version of the HoloLens that was just compatible with the Xbox, like in terms of a connector or whatever. But if they're making a whole new console for it, I hope it's just a HoloLens, and I hope that they are conforming that VR technology, and they're going to make it available on PC as well, but we'll see. I mean, the Kinect is kind of available on PC. You can make it work for your PC. So, they have a history of
I saw a couple of weeks ago. I wish I remember what it's called, and I could probably get a link to put like in the YouTube pod after or something. But it was this bar that you sort of stick on the bottom of your monitor, and it follows your eyes. So
Right.
it works sort of in the same way when you move your head, you look around in the game, except it's not a headset. It's just
Right.
it's your monitor, and then you can look around.
Hmm.
And that's available. That exists. I believe it's like $150 or something.
Hmm.
But I don't fully remember. I remember seeing it though and being like, "Oh, that exists."
Well, I wonder if anyone's bought out that technology, because I think that technology on its own is cool, but probably doesn't have any, strong applications. Um, I think you're more likely to see that incorporated with other technologies going forward. But it could be interesting if they
Yeah,
if
that's
say a VR group picks that up and puts it and incorporates it into one of their headsets, or external to the headset. And the Vive already does it, where it's your sensors on the headset are tracked, and so you can do all that. That's the basis of VR, is the tracking, right? But having it more compact might be something that they actually start to do a lot more of, if they are able to acquire that kind of technology. Did you know if it was super accurate, or if it was kind of chunky?
it. No, it did look pretty good. It looked like it was falling in pretty well. My only thing was though is sort of, I guess, similar to what you're saying about it doesn't have a ton of application in that, he was playing the Division, and he was looking around and going like, oh, look at all these things I'm looking at. But my problem with it was is he had his hand on the mouse already, so it's sort of just use the mouse. It doesn't feel like it's adding that much,
Right.
but it still looked cool. I liked it.
That's what I'm. The one thing they're talking about with the Gear VR, the Samsung headset, is apparently they're talking about introducing a controller with the headset, which to me defeats the purpose, kind of. If you want to be immersed in virtual reality, then you should be doing everything like that. But they're making it using the headset, so it's a lot easier to actually do stuff instead of doing just head controls. So I can see how it'd be easier to play different games, and you could make it more. I don't know. It's weird.
That's a way to make it more accessible, is to have it
Adding
be
controller. Yeah.
is adding the controller, right? Whereas what the Vive does is you have the two little paddle things that you work with.
Yeah.
They are very good from what I've heard. They're very intuitive. So that's good news, at least. But it's still it's a new controller, and that can always take time. And people have their skepticism about paddle controllers after the Wii, especially since the Wii's paddle controls were fucking terrible, just in terms of tracking. But the Vives have been really good from what I've seen online. I don't know. I think there's a lot to it. But I think that's probably part of Microsoft, when they do release it for the Xbox, it's going to be more accessible because of a controller being added, rather than being accessible through other means. I don't think they're going to put a new controller to the test. I think they have a formula for their controllers that they like, and I think they're probably going to stick with it. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. The scape is changing very rapidly, though. So we may know within a year whether or not VR is going to be something that actually breaks into mainstream or not. I hope it does. I hope that the Vive gets a shit ton cheaper and I have an opportunity to buy it and play it. Otherwise, 3 years down the line, maybe I'll get into VR. When it's dirt cheap and everything's fine with that. But yeah. So we should talk about. Do we want to talk about mobile game? I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah, we hit that pretty hard earlier.
Yeah. Let's go into what game genre has been most overdone. I was about to say underdone, and that's the exact opposite topic. We could talk about that too, though. I'm trying to make sure I change the topics on time so that when we do our timestamps on YouTube, it's easier.
Oh, I like that.
But we'll see. So we're going to talk about genre overuse in video games. I know, Josh, you have some strong opinions about this one. So why don't you lead us off, and then we'll feed off of your anger.
Yeah, well, a topic we're going to be talking about a little bit later is, as a poor college student, pretty much who's on YouTube, pretty much most of the games I can play are either games I already own, games that I buy because I want to play them for myself, or free-to-play games. So I have an issue, a game genre that is very, very, very overdone in these free-to-play games, which are where I get most of my like indie games or test games like that, are visual novels, which I don't really. Some of them are more interactive than others, but most of them are literally just, it's like watching an audiobook. And so I understand why they're so overdone. They're the easiest game to make. They literally have visual novel creators online that you literally just put your pictures and text into, and it will create it for you. And you can say that you've created a game. To me, the ones that are overdone are the less immersive ones, the ones that don't really have you do anything, the ones that just, in often cases there's not even any sort of branching storyline. It's literally a set storyline. Like I said, you're literally listening to an audio, or read it, not even listening to, because there's no audio. You're reading a book with pictures. So to me, that is probably currently, at least for my exposure, the indie genre that is the most overdone, just because it's so easy to make.
Okay, Yeti, take it away.
So I thought about this for a little bit because like of the topics there, this is probably the one I thought about the most. Just because I was thinking, like, I feel like a little while ago, first-person shooters were quite overdone because they feel like, because there's the whole Infinite Warfare thing. People are like, oh, we don't want to play Future anymore. But then I was thinking, like, there's not really many places you can go with that. You've got the future now, and then not too much of the past where guns are a thing. But at the same time, I was a little bit conflicted in that because I feel like Siege is like been a big thing for me. That's been quite different. And then obviously Doom's just come out, which I'm waiting to play. So I sort of that was something which came to mind immediately. But then sort of thinking on it, there is like a bit of variety. One thing that was maybe the main one which stood out, which I think was a bit interesting, was actually racing games, because as far as racing games go, they're very, very similar every time. But the thing is, there's new cars coming out all the time. So I think it's a bit of a catch-22 in that the games are never changing.
That's kind of same thing with like your Maddens or your MLB 2K insert year here is.
I was gonna say that's EA Sports syndrome. We have to make a new game because new players are on new teams, and we have to
exactly. How often do they actually change the core mechanics of these games? Maybe every 5 games they'll change the swing style. Maybe they'll fine-tune passing in like Madden or something like that. They'll change, not much, but mostly it's changing rosters is why they have to change it every year. Which, could you make a game that with patches you could insert new rosters, everything? Probably, but that won't make as much money.
Yeah.
But I like sports games, so I don't mind it.
Well, you also have to look at it like from the perspective of, okay, but sport games have been around since, basically since consoles and since computers could run games, right? So like the evolution from then until now is huge. It's massive. I mean, I remember playing FIFA on my computer when I was like 7 or 8, and it was like a pretty terrible experience. And then I played FIFA not long ago, and I'm like, wow, this is like actually pretty good controls wise. Like, it feels a lot more natural, and it's like, yeah, people aren't turning on a dime like ridiculously. Like, they actually take their time to turn around, and you have realistic movement. And so like it's more of a slow evolution with yearly release games, I think. And like I played a shit ton of Call of Duty when I was in university because I had an Xbox 360, and I was just, it was easy to, set up in my dorm and play. I got really good at Call of Duty, and then I got really bored with Call of Duty. And just to your point with, there's not really too many places you can go with shooters, I think Siege proved that wrong. I think that there are an incredible amount of games you could conceivably do within the first-person shooter genre that aren't run-and-guns. I think Doom is in its very essence a run-and-gun, but that's because it's a legacy franchise that started the run-and-gun genre. So I think criticizing Doom for that would be a little bit silly, because that is what Doom is, But something like Siege has done something very unique, where they actually where they actually allow you to do a different gameplay loop, and it's a good gameplay loop. It's very interesting and it's very compelling. Unfortunately, they had some launch problems, and it didn't get as much hype or attention as I think it needed to. But I hope that companies start to do more creative FPS games. Like, I mean, even something like Payday is different to some degree, but that's still within the run and gun style. It's just it's more in the Counter-Strike vein as opposed to the Call of Duty vein, and I think there is variety to be had in first-person shooters. I think it's just not done enough. I think the run and gun style is overdone. I agree with you there, but I think there are more aspects to first-person shooters that could be done better, and hopefully will in the future. As far as like visual novels go, honestly, fuck visual novels, man. So over them. I have seen so many, and like I don't put them on the channel. I don't. Like I have played some. I have played some.
Yeah. I've read some.
Yeah, I read books in my spare time. I listen to audiobooks in my spare time. I enjoy reading. When I want to play a video game, I want to play a video game. Don't sell your visual novel to me as a video game. Sell it to me as a short book or a short story, because that's what it is. It's a short story. It's not even a book. It is a short story in which you have decided to add pictures. It is a small picture book. You could do them for children. It is a piss-off when people try and sell that to me as a game. It's not a game, just like clickers aren't a game. Clickers are not a fucking game. Clickers are you clicking. That's what they are. You can call them management games all you want. They're not management games. Management games are much more complex than that. You can... Anyways, it's going back to the mobile game thing. I'm sorry. But, as far as visual novels go, I am so over those being called games. They're not. They're not games. They are visual novels. Yeah. And people should stop marketing them as games because it's a hindrance to the industry, in my mind. And I think it's a waste of everybody's time. I think if you're interested in visual novels, there are avenues you can go to acquire visual novels and enjoy visual novels. If that's what you like, that's great. I'm happy for you. I'm over it. Stop putting them on Steam. I'm also real over the survival horror genre right now on Steam.
I was going to bring that up as well. After survival, kind of after Minecraft really took off again, became a big thing, and after games like, some of them are okay. You have a lot of these people that take this survival genre. I know like after 7 Days to Die got kind of pretty big. A lot of people were taking this like more realistic looking kind of Minecraft approach of let's make everything crafting and put a crafting system in every single game. When you got The Forest coming out, you had 7 Days to Die. Now they're doing like, there's some games that take it and doing an interesting spin on it, like The Culling, which recently, I think it's in early access right now, or in beta or something like that. That's a game that took kind of a crafting system in it that's actually kind of cool because it's a different dynamic. It's a survival game, it's a crafting game, but it's like a Hunger Games style game as well. So that's a game that I think takes an overdone genre and actually does it well. But then like you said, there's so many others that just use it for what it is for, and then they just put it in different settings. Like I know they had Subnautica for a while, was pretty big. It's basically a crafting survival game, but in the ocean instead on a different planet or whatever. But
it had an interesting lore to it as well with Subnautica. There was a lot going on in the background. Really? So
I did not know about that.
Yeah, there's it's interesting. I got pretty into Subnautica. Like watched a lot of it. I didn't play any of it because I'm broke. But just for a moment, to go back to visual novels, the Walking Dead games, like Telltale games, I do think those are stories more than games. I would really prefer if they weren't classified as games. But I do think like Telltale, if you're gonna talk about visual novels and like quality visual novels, Telltale does it right. Telltale makes really good product. Are they games? I would argue no, probably not. I would argue that they're stories with branching choices. I think they're kind
choose your own adventure.
Exactly.
Which is how you do it. If you're gonna do something like that, that's how you do it. When you have there are some of these visual novels that are literally just pictures, and you read. It's literally like turning pages in a book, and it's. You're right. They're not games.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeti, what are your thoughts, especially on visual novels? Because I think you had something to say, and we kind of kept going with the survival.
It was pretty much that. Yeah, I was just curious of your opinions on Telltale games, but it's something. I think it's a weird one because I don't know where it falls because it's also like slowly trying to get into the film industry a bit as well. I've seen some like indie films recently where they've gone that route and they're trying to push or at least try interactive films. And I saw one and it was like a horror film and it was like super generic because the idea was more just to try this out and promote this. But yeah, exactly. And I think that works, but it's hard to be like, oh, does this work better as a film, or is it more of a game thing? And for me personally, I think that it does work better in the form of a game, but also I don't know. I don't know if I'd class Telltale games as games per se. It's like a cross between. It's like a happy medium for me. I'm happy for them to exist, but I wouldn't really be like, oh yeah, it's a big game thing.
Yeah,
but
I think that's reasonable. I think that's pretty well where we're all at with that.
yeah.
As far as like talking about the culling though and survival horror done differently, I think that's exactly what we were talking about with FPS games. There are ways you can be creative with the genre, and that's great. I want to still see that innovation, but just re-releasing DayZ over and over again is not helpful, and DayZ wasn't a good game. So I mean, it was an okay game. It was fine, but it was a proof of concept. Like it was a modification on Arma, right? Like DayZ was originally a modification on another game. That's great. Mm-hmm. Dota started off as a mod as well, and so like mods can generate, proper games, but it doesn't need to be like Dota in the sense that it spurs on an entire genre. Like, I think the survival horror, open world bullshit, there's a bunch of zombies around, gameplay has been done way too much. And I think that's the classic one that you kind of have to talk about. Yeah, but I don't know. I think there's a lot to criticize about survival horror games, but there's also a lot to praise if you look at the ones that are done right. The culling is one that I'm watching very closely, and I actually plan on purchasing at some point.
Yeah,
I think that is a game, going back to another question you had earlier, that is a game I will rage at. Because I will die in the worst ways possible, like just walking into a field of poison without realizing it, or like just walking on punji sticks over and over again, or like getting blown up
random
by
mine.
claymores. Oh,
yeah, that's why I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so Monica brings up a good point. Phasms brings up Unturned, which is basically like survival horror in like a Minecraft style game. It's like it's taking all of the tropes. It was actually not bad. It's a stressful game though, because like it's survival in the sense that you have to get water and food and things like that, and it's like a very set small map in Prince Edward Island and whatever, but like that game is stressful.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Like you said, I'm probably going to purchase Culling at some point. It just seems like such a good foundation for a game, because you can do so much with that. Mm-hmm. I imagine like once they release a full game, you can have different maps. They're going to have map packs they can release. They're going to have so many different weapons they can put in. Like, I'm excited to see what they do with the game. Right now, I've heard it's kind of unbalanced in a little. Basically, people that know what they're doing and have been playing for a while win every single time, and then you can't really learn because they'll kill you in the first 5 minutes. But, slowly over time, there's a steep learning curve, but once you get that figured out, then you can do better. But
they did a rebalance recently where they have made it much more punishing in the early game, while also making it, like, way harder to get, like, super good weapons. So, like, people who know how to, like, get a shit ton of funk real quick are not going to just wreck you by the like 5 minute mark. But that being said, it's like if you die in the early game, it's so much more punishing than that for the other players in the game, as far as like, because you get such a large boost of funk early on if you get a kill. And so like it's weird that they didn't balance that out a little bit better to like curve with the game as you would expect. But it like they are clearly making strides to make it easier for people to learn, because they just got a huge influx of new players. So
yeah.
Okay.
We have about 20 minutes left. We want to transition into our last talking point, or do we want to go into? I think we could probably cover our last talking point pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, why don't we talk about ukulele first, and then if we have time, we'll go into the last discussion topic.
Okay, so upcoming games we're excited for is what we're going to talk about.
Well, I think so. I think that's probably what we should do, and then we'll go from there. If we have time to talk about paid content, we will. If not, then then I think that's a topic we can save for next week. So it's not, because that's not like a we need to talk about it right now because it's a news topic thing, right? So like, I mean, neither are the upcoming games, but I figure we should get those in. So
yeah. So upcoming games I'm excited for. This is actually a game that has been in the works for about a year now. About a year ago, the old staff of Rare, after Rare got bought out by Microsoft, they fired most of the original Rare staff. That original staff got back together and did a Kickstarter. Rare's the company that did Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, games like that. They came back and went on Kickstarter and said, hey, we want to make a Banjo-Kazooie style, not Banjo-Kazooie 3 necessarily, but a Banjo-Kazooie style 3D platformer with cartoons. We need money, basically. They went to Kickstarter, and to this date, the Kickstarter started last May 25th, and they reached their goal within 4 days, and today they're up to about 2 million pounds, which is the equivalent of, like you said, over $3 million American.
Yeah,
I
just
believe.
over 3 million American dollars.
So the game is going to be called Yooka-Laylee. It's essential, or Yuka-Lele. Basically, it's a direct reference to Banjo-Kazooie and it's not a bear and bird, but it is a chameleon and a bat instead of a bear and bird. It's essentially going to be kind of not a reskin of Banjo-Kazooie, but a new game in the installment that's, I imagine, going to be related in ways. I would be amazed if they did
the same world without directly saying it's in the same world.
Right.
Is what
I would be amazed if they. I would be amazed if they didn't throw in some references to Banjo-Kazooie.
They'd have to get the rights for some of it from
Microsoft,
from Sony at this point, actually.
Oh, from Sony. Huh.
Yeah, because I think Sony's the one who took over some of the rights for that. I don't know if you know this, but Uncharted 4 had a Banjo-Kazooie gameplay piece in it.
Oh, really?
Yes. Which, spoiler, I guess, for Uncharted 4. Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's fun.
So they took over some of the rights recently, at least the rights to use it within content. So I think those rights would have to transfer, but I'd be interested to see if they did. I think they might still have to get character rights from Microsoft, but they'd have to get use rights from Sony. Yay, complications.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the issue of why they couldn't just make a Banjo-Kazooie 3 like fans want. You're right, they don't have the rights to it anymore. Mm-hmm. Once Rare was dissolved, all of the titles and licenses went to Microsoft, and I guess now are partially owned by Sony. But this is a new game
to Sony. I'm not actually sure if they own them, but they at least are licensed to Sony currently. So
yeah, but can you throw the? Did you throw the link in the?
Did. It's in the feed.
Perfect. Yeah, if you want to check it out, they have their Kickstarter page there, which I believe on the Kickstarter page it includes. There's a little trailer you can watch on there, maybe. At some point on there, there's a
page.
Yeah, and it looks really good. I've listened the music. They have the same. I think it's the same studio that's making music, or at least the same style of music as Banjo-Kazooie, which I love the soundtrack in Banjo-Kazooie. So this game is going to be very similar, essentially. The mechanics look very similar. There's like a new rolling mechanic, which is a little bit different, but for the most part, pretty similar, and I'm excited for it.
What are your thoughts on this one, Yeti? Because I have my opinions about it, but What's your take on this
I
game?
just realized I just opened the stream up and realized I look like I'm a fucking like a zombie in the stream. Um, ukulele. I saw it when it was like when the Kickstarter was a thing. I've never played Banjo and Kazooie.
Recommend
But
it.
it's something which I'm interested in. The thing I like about the most, not necessarily the most, but the thing that I like about it is it's coming out on PC, and I know that's like not a thing for Banjo Kazooie beyond emulators. So I like that that's a thing, that's a possibility, because I know that sort of game is very suited to like controllers and that sort of stuff. So I like that it's coming out on PC. I'll I'd like to say I'll play it. It depends when it comes out and what the price point's like and what
Yeah.
money's like at the time. But I think it looks good. It sort of reminds me of something about Juju or something. No, the
Oh,
Legend of
Attack and the
K.
Power of
Juju was a different
Juju?
game. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
kind
was
of like
one,
that.
and then Legend of K as well. Those
Yeah.
two are out. Came out on PC recently, a few months ago or something, and I like that more of these sort of 3D platformers are coming to PC now. Hopefully that sets a trend because I like
Yeah.
them because I'm like a massive Ratchet and Clank fan.
Yeah, that's what I was
So-
gonna say. We talked about overused genres. I think platformers are severely underappreciated in today's kind of games. It's very hard to find a good 3D any platformer in general, but 3D platformer specifically. And that was such a staple of early video games. And I hope this is the beginning of a long string of 3D platformers to come back because I love old 3D platformers.
I'm gonna disagree with you there on that.
Oh, really?
I mean, not that they're underappreciated. I agree they're underappreciated. 3D platformers started coming back when Trine came out. If you haven't played Trine, check it out. It's a really, really good set of games. Trine 1 through 3. Those are games that I've raged at, actually, which Phasms, if she's still in the chat, can attest to. Because we played them co-op. You can play them with up to 3 people. So you can control all of the characters. There are 3 characters. There's a mage, a rogue-like assassin, and then a knight that you kind of switch between to solve puzzles and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that game.
It's a puzzle platformer that's very good. She says I hate Trine. That's not true. I don't hate Trine. I get very frustrated by Trine. It's a hard game. It's a hard set of games. I really enjoy the style and I really like the story aspects to it. But I think like 3D puzzle platformers have already started to make a comeback, and I hope they continue to do so. But like 2D platformers have been overused in the indie genre for a really long time. So that's just where I wanna disagree with you on that, because like ever since Super Meat Boy, 2D platformers are like everyone's like, wait, we got to make a 2D platformer. Everyone's hyped on them right now. Blah blah blah. And then 250,000 indie 2D platformers later, here we are.
Yeah. Okay, I'll specify 3D platformers then. That'll make it different.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely.
They're I wouldn't. Okay, not easy, but it's sort of like it's an easier genre to make. 2D platformers.
2D platformers is what you learn to make games with. As far as like when you start to learn coding, you learn to make a 2D platformer first because the mechanics are very straightforward. It's just you need to learn how to do collisions, you need to learn how to do movement of a character, of an image, and then movement of the surroundings, and then you do repeated scenes and things like that. So it's like as far as learning to make games, you often learn on platformers because they're very straightforward, which is fine. But it just means that a lot of people are really hyped to, publish their first game, and it's a 2D platformer.
Yeah.
Because it's what they've been making throughout the entire time that they've been practicing making games. So it happens a lot. But, I don't know. They are interesting. I like 2D platformers. I mean, I grew up on Mario, so, like, I want more of them. But, yeah. I don't know. And then
The thing I don't like about ukulele is the bat has like a tomato for a nose, and that kind of freaks me out. But other than that,
yeah,
it's perfect.
That's fair. I really like the music in this.
Music is
I've watched
if
the
you
trailer.
watch the trailer,
it's
good.
It's good.
It's reminiscent of Banjo Kazooie. It's got like it's very like xylophone driven. I love it.
Very much my childhood is what I would say. This music reminds me of. Like it's just very nostalgic. So I like it quite a lot. I think one of the things that I'm most interested in as far as like this game goes. I'd say like I'm most interested in seeing how they go about the camera, because the one complaint I had about Banjo-Kazooie was the camera.
Yeah.
And
I went back and replayed it recently, even
it's
on
tough
on the rare replay, which is even an updated version, and the camera angles are still.
awful.
I'm playing Conker's now, and I almost can't play. I almost can't finish it. I've stopped for a little bit. I almost don't want to go back because the camera angles are so bad.
I almost
So yeah, that's
wonder
a
if
big issue.
I almost wonder if I was bad at Banjo-Kazooie when I was a kid because of the camera angles. Like going back now and like recognizing that I'm actually like okay at 3D puzzle platformers.
It's essentially an invisible hand that hinders your progress. So
Yeah. It's a little frustrating. So I hope that, you know, they do it in the vein of Banjo-Kazooie, but very much fix that.
Yeah.
What about you, Yeti? What games are you hyped for?
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like I'm in a bit of like a dry spot for that at the moment, in that I'm pretty much just looking forward to a few games and just like waiting for them to come out, which I think is a good thing, because I mentioned before I have quite a lot to play at the moment on my to playlist, so I think it's a good thing that I'm focusing on what I've already got as opposed to being like, you know, there's a bunch of games I want. But yeah, I mean, you know, Dishonored 2, the usual. Still hoping that we're going to start getting some news for that. Siege DLC. I think what I could do with doing at some point is like sitting down and just having like a good in-depth look at, you know, what we've got coming out, the smaller stuff. Because as it stands, yeah, I don't really think there is anything at the moment that I haven't already spoken about, like previously at least. But
Yeah.
I think I'll have a look this week.
I think that's
See what's
perfectly
coming.
fair. Like my big one is still No Man's Sky. I'm so hyped for that game, and like I'm even more like, even with the news of it being delayed, I'm more hyped for it now, because I'm just like, oh, that's good. They're putting more effort into making this like a really good game, and I'm really excited for it. So like that for me was like always going to be like the big one coming up until it comes out. But I was actually checking out a game called Cadence recently. Like just it's on Steam here. Let me see if I can pull up the video for you guys. And it's,
I'm going to show you just how easy it is.
ooh, nope, let's not have the audio. But this is it's a music-based game, which is pretty cool. So like it's kind of like a little bit rhythmy. Whoa, you guys are way out of whack on this. So hold on a second.
it's my fake face.
Yeah, it's your fake face, the one that I definitely thought looked too much like me.
Yeah, I don't wear glasses anymore, so I should take that off.
You
Yeah,
guys
change my
anyways,
avatar.
you get the picture. I'm actually just gonna jump back to the other scene because this is not functional for us. But anyways, it's kind of like a music based game in which you like connect patterns and things like that to make music. It's weird, and I'm interested in it. It's just one that like I'm kind of curious about more than anything. It says available 2016, which to me says available 2017. So, you know, I'm curious about it, but like I don't know that much about it, so I want to look into it a little bit more. But
Looks like a musical World of Goo.
yeah, it looks weird, and I'm into it. I like it. Kind of has like a little bit of a kind of like a programmatic aspect to it, but yeah, I'm into it. I'm like, it's weird and I like it and I'm curious about it. I'm not super sure what it is yet, but I'm into it and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I mean that's all I got though as far as like what's coming up, because like I don't know, No Man's Sky is dominating my field of view as far as games that are coming out right now, and it's just like it looks so good. I don't know, but yeah. Do you guys have anything else that you're looking forward to as far as games go, or like anything you're looking forward to getting back into, maybe?
I don't know. I'm just enjoying Dark Souls.
I'm getting pumped for. I'm about to take on the Elite Four, my Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge, which is really exciting. And then once I finish that, I'm actually upping my Nuzlocke to 3 times a week on my channel, which is just because I don't know why I'm really getting into Pokemon. I'm watching a bunch of people do Nuzlocks on online. So I'm getting really excited for I'm already looking towards the next one I'm gonna do and like what I'm gonna change about what I randomize and stuff. So that's like probably not gonna be till like late June, early July probably. But I'm like I don't know why I'm really excited about getting back into that and looking forward to whichever game I choose to play next.
Fair enough. I think as far as games that I'm looking at getting back into, you mentioned KOTOR before. Now that we've talked about it, I'm going back. I'm going to be playing KOTOR. I'm actually tempted to get it back into like the old Battlefronts from Star Wars. So
they did like a Star Wars sale a couple days ago, or not a couple days ago. It was like May 4th through like May 9th of just like 80% off all Star Wars games, and I picked up Battlefront 2, KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, Jedi Knight, Rogue One. I picked up a ton of Star Wars games. So
if I didn't already own most of those games, I would have been picking them up as well.
Yeah, no, they're amazing.
Yeah, I think I might start playing The Witcher 3 as well. I was originally going to be playing The Witcher 1 and 2 before I played 3. Then I realized I don't care, and I'm just going to play 3. So, like, I tried to stream The Witcher 1, and it was having so many fucking problems. Like, I fell through the floor and had to restart my entire game because it wouldn't put me back in the game. So, I was pretty upset about that. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it, I'll just play a new one. And I've already played 2 a little bit, I realized, like, because my brother had it on Xbox, and I just didn't know what I was playing. So, yeah. So I'm just like, well, I'll just play 3 and, The Witcher 3 and check that out at some point. But beyond that, like, I'm just kind of like, games that I'm going to be playing in, I'm going to be playing some more Isaac. I'm going to be getting back into Rocket League a little bit.
There's a lawnmower going outside my house. I apologize.
No, it's all good. It's all good. The construction workers are, for some reason, outside my apartment. And it is pouring rain out here. Like, it is horrible, horrible rain and, like, awful weather. But they're out on the work site. I think that, like, they must be covering shit up because there's no other reason for them to be here right now. They can't do shit. So, I don't know. But it's also noisy. So, if you hear it, I'm sorry. But, yeah. Yeah, I think, like, it's kind of a bit of a lull because E3 is not yet. And as soon as E3 happens, it's going to be like, oh my god, I'm so hyped for this, I'm so hyped for this, I'm so hyped for this. Until then, it's kind of like No Man's Sky. Yep. that's the one.
Announcements.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, do you guys want to talk about, do you guys want to talk about our last talking point, or do you want to just save it for next week and we can make that our
We can save it for next week, just in case it's another slow news week. We need to make sure we got a bunch of topics to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. I think that sounds good. Well, then in that case, we're done for the week. So I'd like to say for now,
Arrivederci.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming out. If you guys would like to pimp your channels, now's the time. So why don't we start with Yeti?
Okay. Yep, I'll try and be less tired next week. Yeah, YouTube.com/YetiHype. I'm working on it. It's been quite Let's Play heavy recently, so I'm working on doing some new stuff. Hopefully soon. A lot of starting up like a little Elder Scrolls discussion series, going through the places and the like potentials of each place, pros and cons, and that sort of stuff. So that should be starting this week. But for the most part, I'm trying to get through Salt and Sanctuary. That's going on at the moment, and hopefully my Taking a Gander at series, where I look at new indie releases, that's going to be coming back in relatively full force. My throat just made a weird noise. In relatively full force. I have like 3 games I need to look at. So yeah, if you're interested in stuff, then youtube.com/YetiHype, and Twitter as well. There's a Twitch, but it's not been used since like 1984. So yeah. That's me.
I think everybody likes stuff, so I think heading over to Yeti Hype's channel is a good choice if you like stuff.
I am pro stuff.
Yeah,
send him another Twitter notification so he shits himself again.
Oh, I should.
I turned vibrate off. It's fine.
We'll see.
Do I plug me now? That was a weird sentence to say.
Yeah, please.
Do I plug my channel?
Yeah, you should plug yourself on camera now.
Let me plug me real quick, like a Glade fresh and scent. Like I said, I'm Josh. I am over at PlaycrastiNation, youtube.com/PlaycrastiNation. A lot of changes happening to the channel right now, going down to a lot shorter content and introducing some new series, which I am excited about, including, like I said, up in our Pokemon series, and also introducing Dark Souls, as well as continuing stuff like Isaac, and probably Conquer's Bad Fur Day. So check me out on youtube.com/PlaycrastiNation.
Also, it's good to note your Twitter is twitter.com. It's /PlaycrastiNate, which is very confusing. I already fucked up once today and tagged
there's only you can only use 15 characters in your Twitter name. So yeah, that's why it's @PlaycrastiNate instead of @PlaycrastiNation. I was 2 letters off.
Yeah. It's a tragedy. See, I had to add characters because someone else had already taken Winter Bear. So I had to I had to add at Winter Bear 2015, which, by the way, is where you can find me on Twitter, and then you can also find me on YouTube at youtube.com/WinterBearGames. Twitch is also twitch.tv/WinterBearGames. So if you guys want to check out a lot of more explainer content, so things like explaining what you need to know going into a game, or if you want to hear a perspective piece on my opinion on something, then you can come over to my channel and check that stuff out. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that over the next little while and moving away from Let's Plays a little bit. So there's still going to be Let's Plays on the channel. Slime Rancher is a big one on my channel, and Tomb Raider is still running. It's going to finish eventually, so is XCOM 2. And after that point, we're going to be moving more into more content like opinion pieces and explainers and things like that. So if you're into that stuff, come check it out. Otherwise, don't. You can do that too. So, yeah. But anyways, we've been the Summit Podcast crew, and we would like to say thank you very much for watching this week. And we hope that you have enjoyed the podcast. And well, if you're interested in checking out the rest of it, if you missed some, we're going to be posting the VODs on our YouTube channels, so you can come out and support whichever one of us you like the most. So popularity contest time. Yeah, but yeah, come check it out. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. So, all right. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.